Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today for the webinar. I know you all are very busy, so I appreciate you carving out some time to learn some tips and tricks about how you can accelerate growth of your 3D printing and manufacturing business. I promise this webinar is going to be a little bit different. You will see some fresh perspective and I hope by the end of this webinar you will have some actionable items that you can take to expand the growth of your additive manufacturing business. A little bit about how the webinar is structured. So for the next 25 minutes or so, we will talk about different ways of accelerating growth for your 3D printing business, followed by a short demo, and we will end there. So let's get started. So before I start, let me give you a little bit about my background. My name is Prasad Dikshit. I'm the founder and CEO of Dikshit Systems. Dikshit Systems is the parent company that is developing Innovana3D. So my background is in mechanical engineering. I did my undergrad and master's in mechanical engineering. Uh, I've been doing like engineering 3D software development for the past 15 years or so. Uh, I tried to stay. I really enjoyed mechanical engineering and didn't want to get to go all I studied go to waste. So I tried to combine my passion for mechanical engineering as well as for software development. So most of my career has been focused on like engineering, manufacturing, 3D software development, computational geometry related work, and so forth. Uh, so during my career, I had a good opportunity to see multiple software projects go right from the concept level to all the way through commercial release. I spent quite some time in additive manufacturing space as well. For about an year or two, I was providing 3D printing services myself as a hobbyist on 3D hubs when it allowed like small hobbyist to perform 3D to allow providing 3D printing services on their platform. Um, Soon after that, I joined MakerBot. I was on their tool pathing and slicing team, so I was working on their like print preparation and slicing software team, which was bundled into MakerBot Print. Now it became Ultimaker, and I also worked for like CAM software, like the development of CAM software backend, CAD software, latticing, and generative design toolkit as well. So a little bit about the company background. You can think Dixit Systems is a New York City-based startup. It was founded in 2016. At its core, it's an engineering and 3D software development company. We provide a custom software development services, as well as we are developing our own in-house multiple B2B cloud-based solutions. And Innovana3D is one of the product we are developing. I will talk a little bit about that in coming slides. All right, let's focus on like in the 3D printing market a little bit, where it is now and where it is going. So like the great news is like 3D printing is a rapidly growing market. Like it's growing at a compound annual growth rate of almost 19%. Depending upon what market research studies see, it will vary a little bit, somewhere between 17 to 20%, but like around 19% is a good estimate. So in 2023, it was almost a $250 million market, 23.7 to be more precise, and it's expected to almost quadruple to almost $100 billion in next 8 years by 2032. So that's a very healthy growth. So like expected to grow like almost 4x in next 8 years. So I think if you take the right steps for your business, I think You can imagine your own business growing 4x, 5x, 6x, even 8x times if you like, how you pull some levers for your business. So, and I think that's the part we are here, and hopefully some of the things we discuss here can help you get that exponential growth. There are like, to grow a business or to accelerate business, you can think of it from two perspectives. One is adding momentum, right? So this part where you can focus on different strategies for market expansion, business expansion, different ways for demand generation, lead generation, and so forth. So it's kind of like, providing fuel to your business. But on the other side, there are things you can do to minimize the friction for your customers. So as I was working on this webinar, I realized like, if you cover both of them, it's going to get too long for a 30-minute webinar. So I decided to break it up into two parts. So in this part, we'll mostly focus on minimizing friction for your customers, and we will have a subsequent webinar where we will cover this adding momentum part in more detail. So as I mentioned in my previous slide, like we will be focusing more on minimizing friction for your customers, and why it matters to matters in terms of accelerating growth of your 3D printing business. So you can think of friction as a force that opposes motion, and it's always going to reduce the acceleration. So friction is kind of enemy of like accelerating your business growth. So you have to figure out different ways to minimize that. So in that context, the equation you see on the screen is called as a value equation. It's from a very good book called as 100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy. If you're not familiar with the author Alex Hormozy, he's a serial entrepreneur. He started multiple companies. He exited his last company at around $45 million. Right now, he, along with his wife, is running a platform called as acquisition.com. And like, the combined revenue of those companies is around $200 million. And he see lots of businesses through that platform. And he came up with this like unique way of looking at the value creation for your customers, right? For any business to survive or sustain, at the end, like the bottom line is you have to create value for them, and then you can charge certain percentage of that value you create for your customers as your service fee or product licensing fee, or things like that. So but like, the bottom line is the more value you create, the more um, charges you can afford to ask for from your customers. So let's a little bit dig a little bit more into this formula and what he implies by that. So 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 on top of this equation, there are basically these four levers you have with which you can increase the value for your customers. One is like, what's the dream outcome for your customers? So if you're running a 3D printing business, so for your customers, the dream outcome would be, hey, like, they're sending me the part and they're coming back exactly the way they want, exactly with the same finish, exactly the tolerances they need, and like it's delivered like, right when, like within a one business day. That's kind of like a dream outcome for them. So uh, whatever you can do to get as close as possible for what their dream outcome is, you're increasing the value for your customers. Another aspect is like, what's the perceived likelihood of that achievement? One thing is like, okay, like, it's it's possible that if I place order through this business and I'm going to get that service, but at the same time, like, how reliable is the service? Like, what are the chances that if I place the order and everything will turn out the way I want it, right? And that kind of certainty is like a very innate human desire, and people are willing to pay a premium for something like that. So, for example, you can see, like, very recently, like, airlines started charging fees, like, okay, if you want a guaranteed window seat, you can pay X dollars more and you're guaranteed a window seat. And a lot of people buy into that because, like, hey, like, I prefer window seat or prefer aisle seat instead of, like, placed randomly somewhere in the middle of the plane, right? So whenever you are increasing, like, that perceived likelihood of achievement of those goals, uh, that's very desirable. Another good example is, like, like a gym membership. So, for example, if you go to a gym and the coach says, hey, you train with me, I will give you the exact diet, exact like exercise plan, and I guarantee you will lose like X kilos or X pounds. um, but then, like, many people would be okay when they know that there is a guarantee. If I follow, as long as I follow this meal plan and exercise, and I'm going to get these results, I'm willing to pay more versus, like, a gym membership where I'm on my own, probably I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I'm spending like 2 hours every day doing, like, getting no results. So another aspect is, like, what you want to minimize is time delay, right? So what's the dream outcome for them, and, like, how you can minimize the time it takes to get to that dream outcome. So, and whenever you are able to do that, you are increasing the value for your customer. So, like, if Amazon Prime is a very good example of this. So with Amazon Prime, they guarantee like 1 or 2 day shipping. So, like, oftentimes that's faster than, like, when I think, hey, I need this thing, and then I go and plan a trip to a shop and come back. But I think more, like, it takes maybe 2 3 days sometimes. Uh, so compared to that, I can order parts from Amazon Prime from the comfort of my chair or couch, and then, like, it's delivered within 1 or 2 days very reliably. So that's why, like, like, Amazon is, like, it's of the size and scale it is today. Uh, and another aspect, like the fourth lever, is, like, reducing the effort and sacrifice for your customers. So again, like, Amazon, if you take the example of Amazon, it's, you can order something from Amazon, and at the same time, like, it's very easy to return things if you don't like it, right? So similarly, like, you see a lot of credit cards companies, like, making it extremely easy to uh, help you pay, like, before you had to, like, take out the things from the credit card from the wallet, swipe it. Now then it turned to just tapping. Now you can, like, for something like Apple Pay, you can just tap, uh, because, like, phone is in your hand anyway. All you'll get doing is just tapping and making that transaction. Or, like, recently UPI has also made payment processing much more easier. So again, like, if we think in terms of, like, 3D printing business, so imagine, uh, like, your customers have to, like, like, if they have to wait for you to open up, like, wait from 9 to 5 p.m., like, talk to you, talk to your sales team to place order, versus, like, they can take care of all of this by themselves, like at 2 a.m. in the morning if needed. So yeah, like, the effort required from the customer side to place orders from you is minimized. That's the value creation for them. So whenever you're doing either one, or, like, ideally you should be doing all four of these things, but, like, even if you're doing one or two of these things, you're increasing the value, and, like, for your customers, and then you can charge a premium for that. So let's talk about, like, so in this equation we basically talked about, like, these two are, like, To minimize friction, we are focusing on this bottom two part, like how you can minimize the time delay for your customers and the effort and sacrifice for your customers. So we'll see some practical ways we can do that. So this is kind of an overview. I will go a little bit deeper into each one of them in the following slides, but you need to have proper systems in place. At the very minimal, you should have a system in place to accept orders from your customers 24/7, 365 days of the year, right? Like if you have to, again, you have to wait for your office hours, 9 to 5, you are most likely going to lose that order. Um, uh, This is very interesting, making it allowed to order parts from you through API. For people, those who know, API stands for Application Programming Interfaces. Uh, so I think like many manufacturers don't think about this aspect. It's it's a way for companies to order through you programmatically, as opposed to someone actually calling you or sending you an email or filling out an RFQ forms. And the way the software industry is going and the way automation is happening, like in the context of ChatGPT, this is very important. I will touch a little bit more in detail what I mean by that in the coming slides. And again, like in this, the third point is like, don't force your customers to talk to you. Like this is very, very critical. Uh, your customers don't want to talk to you about very routine things, like placing orders or tracking packages, checking order status. They do need you to help them when they have some complex needs or when things are not going the way they expect it to go. In that case, yeah, they do need to talk to you. But like for one, like 90% of the time when things are going smooth, they don't want to talk to you, right? And you need to have a system in place to make that happen. So we'll go a little bit deeper into that. So yeah, like it's extremely important to have proper systems in place, like at least have a automated quoting system on your website where customers can come and place order whenever they want. It could be like 2 a.m. in the morning, or they are exercising in the gym and they have like a great idea for a product and they cannot wait to get it feel of the actual physical product in their hand, and they're ordering it from the gym, right? Like that needs to happen. So but if you don't have that, and if they have to wait until next morning to call you, talk to your salespeople, I think uh, you're most likely not going to end up getting that order, and you will lose that order to some other business which does have some kind of quoting automation in. So that's why I feel like quoting automation, so having a quoting automation solution on your website is really, really important. Like it can, like Innovana3D is something that offers that, but there are other solutions. So feel free to look around that makes the make most sense for your business. So for automated quoting, it's not only about for convenience for your customers. Of course, that's very critical, but it's if you go by the time and money you can save by having an automated quoting system is just like it doesn't make sense not to have it. So sorry. So let's do a little bit of comparison of uh, how conventional quoting like through RFQ forms versus like something like an automated quoting compares, right? So one thing is like time compared. So with conventional quoting, it typically takes 1 to 3 business days. With automated quoting, your customers can have quotes within 5 minutes. It's self-serve. It doesn't take any of your time effort. So internal engineering time, like let's say with conventional quoting, it takes up like 30 minutes of your time if you're like quoting engineer. With automated quoting, it's instantaneous, but let's say 5 minutes. Now, if you take into account cost per quote. So like, let's say like, going by like the average salary of mechanical engineer in United States, it's roughly like comes down to $40 per hour, around, depending upon the geographic region. It may vary, but it's a safe assumption. So if it is 30 minutes, then it costs your business around $20 per quote. But so like for something like Innovana3D, it has 300 quotes per month as part of the subscription. So it doesn't cost, like, it's included in part of this cost of the subscription. So let's say you're like kind of a medium sized job shop or a 3D printing service providers, and you're getting 200 quote RFQs per month. So that, going by like 30 minutes per quote and 200 quote per month, adds up to like 100 hours of your quoting engineer's time spent just doing quotes, which is quite significant amount of time, right? Like for processing 200 quotes, your engineer is spending almost 2.5 weeks, like, replying to the quoting request, RFQ request. Whereas with Innovana 3D, like, if you assume, like, let's say it still takes up like 5 minutes of your engineer's time, it's 16 hours. So it's still like 84 hours of time, engineering time saved per month, which is quite significant. And like, instead of replying to RFQs, your engineer might be helping you with the actual production of the parts. Again, like quoting response with conventional quoting is manual within office hours. With automated quoting system is 24/7 instantaneous. And like this is quite critical. Like you can see, like, if you go by 30 minutes per quote and 200 quotes per month, it adds up to like $4,000 per month. It costs your business $4,000 per month to get to all of the RFQs you are getting. Whereas, like, if you have some kind of like automated quoting system, like, on a 3D, like different automated quoting systems will have different prices. On a 3D is one of the cheapest on the market, and like, it's only $195 per month. So that offers you like 20 times savings. So I think, like, for me, it's a no-brainer to have some kind of automated quoting system on the website. So they like, this is very interesting for me, right? Like how to allow, like, different companies, like, to get parts from you. Like if you think in terms of, like, the like OpenAI, ChatGPT, like, it's not too far-fetched to think that, like, people would be able to order parts from you through a chat prompt, like, hey, like, order 20 of this, like this file in this material, from this particular service provider, right? Like it's very feasible. It's like I looked a little bit deeper into it, and it's feasible today. It's just that, like, it might take us maybe few more months, at a year or two, where it becomes a little bit more common. But the way it can happen is through APIs, or like application programming interfaces, where different types of software system can talk to each other. So instead of, like, someone manually sending an email or filling out an RFQ form, like, you have most of the data already available for the two software systems to talk to each other, and they can make this ordering process happen. So if you think about, like, just like you're trying to automate your workflows and make it more efficient, similarly the people who are ordering parts from you are also doing the same, right? They are automating a lot of their systems themselves to make their organization more efficient. So MRP or ERP systems are a lot of times like getting data in real time from their vendors. So one good example I can show you is like Fulcrum. Fulcrum is a relatively new cloud-based ERP system, and let's see how it works. So here you can see all of this data. It's very likely it's coming in real time, like, what material, colors, and finishes different vendors provide, what are the per unit cost, what are the like bulk discount cost, like, what is the lead time, and like, imagine like if you don't have this kind of API available for your manufacturing business, that like, something like, another ERP or MES system cannot talk to, then like, you're not you're not part of their world. You're like, as far as they are concerned, you don't exist. It's kind of like, uh, in a way, think of like, you don't have a website. Like if you don't have website, there's no way to discover you, and like, you're not going to get those orders. So I think it's same thing applies to having an API these days, right? Like the way software industry is like kind of like, automating everything, like, and with like, recent advantages, say with AI and ML, I think this trend is going to continue to grow. And I think like, it's like not having an API is something not most of the manufacturing service provider, additive manufacturing service provider cannot afford in like, in very recent future. Uh, and like, it is something that like a solution, automated coating system like Innovana3D can help. All right, this is really like one of my favorite. Uh, I talked to a lot of 3D printing service providers, and like, one objection they have for like automated coating system is like, oh, like we want to build kind of a relationship with our customers. Like, well, that's absolutely true. There's there like, your customer should trust you. You should have a relationship with you, but you gotta go a little bit deeper into when your customers want a relationship with you and where they just want to take care of their business on their own, right? So this is a really good clip from one of the webinar that I attended. It's called as Manufacturing E-commerce Success. It's run by Kurt Anderson and Damon Piskula. It's really, really good webinar. They have it like every Friday, I believe, and they have some really good guests and content on their podcast. So I highly recommend, like, if you find them on LinkedIn and follow that podcast. But like, what I'm trying to say, I think the guest Christina Harrington of Gen Alpha Technologies says it much better. So let's see what she has to say. So I think, like, like, again, like the gist of it is like, you should be able to be available for your customers for their complex needs when things are going wrong. You should have great customer support. But like, when for the routine things, like, like uploading parts, like checking what's the price, what's the availability, what's the lead time, what's the status of the order, the shipping tracking, those kind of things, people are used to do it on their own whenever they want. They know they can just log in and check all of that information. And I think any new modern shop or additive manufacturing business needs to have that kind of system in place. So like, so far, well, we focused on minimizing friction. So it's a little bit different than like, than just minimizing friction. It's about like, how you prioritize, or like what things you focus on. Like the reality of running a business is there are a lot of distractions around us. Like, the technology is constantly evolving. You will constantly see like, new competitors coming up, um, new materials that you want to keep track of, like new business models or tweaking existing business model, people leaving. So there are a lot of things constantly in flux. It's just nature, part of like running a business. So in such case, like, what do you prioritize? Like, what, there are only certain battles you can fight every single day. So what do you pick, and where to double down and where to like, okay, like back off a little bit. So like, I really like this, like, one snippet of interview uh, with Jeff Bezos of Amazon, like, and the point he wants drives home in that snippet of interview is like, focus on things that don't change and like double down on that. So uh, let's see what he has to say about that. So
I very frequently get the question, what's going to change in the next 10 years? And that is an interesting question. It's a very common one. I almost never get the question, what's not going to change in the next 10 years? And I submit to you that that second question is actually the more important of the two. Because you can build a business strategy around the things that are stable in time. And so as you pointed out, in our retail business, we know that customers want low prices. And I know that's going to be true 10 years from now. They want fast delivery. They want vast selection. It's impossible to imagine a future 10 years from now where a customer comes up to me and says, Jeff, I love Amazon. I just wish the prices were a little higher. You know how I love Amazon. I just wish you delivered a little more slowly. Impossible.
I think, like, what he's trying to say applies to your business as well. Like, things like your customers are going to want, like, more options with of material with which they can print, like easier way to order for them. Like, if you could just say like, hey, like I already ordered from this service provider before. If I can just say, hey, click reorder, instead of like going filling out the RFQ form again and like, providing all of the details again. No, like, just make it easy for them to order from you. Like, lesser lead times, like, the less time it takes for you to process each quote, the faster you can get back to your customers. So all of these things like really add up, and like, you won't go wrong by focusing on things that are stable, like, lesser lead time, lower prices, more options for material, like, better customer experience for your customers. So all of those things can help you, like, have like a compounding effect and help you accelerate growth of your business. Right. I think, like, I think we're already a couple of minutes past 30 minutes. So there was a lot to digest. So let's let's take a pause and have a quick recap. So uh, like, to grow, accelerate your business, you have to minimize friction, and you can do it in multiple practical ways. So one thing is like, have a system to accept orders 24/7, 365 days on your website. Have a mechanism for different, not only people, but different kind of software systems to order parts from you, and that happens through APIs. So have some kind of system to like get receive orders from your customers programmatically. Uh, don't force your customers to talk to you. It's kind of a friction point for your customers. Like, most of the time, people who are ordering parts are engineers. Like, they're not necessarily too keen or too excited about picking up phone and talking to your sales or quoting engineer. They want to just like need the information they need so that they can continue the rest of the design and engineering work. But yeah, at the same time, like, have a mechanism in place, good customer support when things are going wrong. But for the rest of the thing, you want to automate that interaction as much as possible. And lastly, like, focus on prioritize things that won't change, that will stay stable in time, and double down on those things. So with that, like, I would like to show you a quick preview of how Innovana3D works. It's like 2 to 3 minutes quick demo. And for that, imagine, like, your service is like 3D printing services, let's say Acme Manufacturing. And this is what happens when they click on like a get a code button on your own website. So and you can also embed the Innovana 3D widget on your own website. So the customers don't have to leave your website. But let's take a look. So the material, color, and finishes you see here are configured to each individual service provider. So we work with you to see what is available to you, and only those material, color, and finishes are shown to your customers. And the quoting is customized as per your calculation as well. So we can work with you to see like how you calculate price and reflect that instead of our way of calculating it. So it's very highly customized. Like, we don't ask for any payment information. Uh, the user don't even have to log in, so it makes it like very easy to request a quote from you, and it also provides you kind of a mechanism to check the files, like the request a little bit better before accepting the order. I mean, like, this kind of RFQ forms are like way too common than I would like, and it's not a great customer experience. I think so that I think gives you a quick overview of how Innovana3D works. And with that, and if you have any more questions, I would be more than happy to answer any of the questions, concerns you might have. And I hope like this webinar offered you some very important insights and some actionable items that you can take to accelerate growth of your 3D printing business. Uh, like we talked a lot about values and minimizing friction, and we want to do the same for our customers, which is you in this case. So uh, uh, we want to offer you value. So as part of, like, someone who attended this webinar or registered for this webinar, um, like, in order to set up, it costs us some developer time, and there's some like one-time setup fee, which is like around $1,995. So if you scan this, like, the QR code you have, we will also send it in a follow-up email. So it's kind of a link for a quick sign-up form, and if you sign up within next 7 days, you will receive the we will waive the almost like $2,000 value of, like, $2,000 for one-time setup fee. In addition to that, like whether you sign up or not, everyone will receive an Excel worksheet to calculate cost saving by adding quoting automation solution. Like, we saw, like, in a comparison in one of the previous slides, how you can compare the cost with respect to conventional versus automated quoting. And, like, everyone's situation is different. Like, your the cost per hour for your quoting engineer might be different. Like, number of quotes you get per month is going to be quite different. So we want to give you a tool to calculate the ROI, return on your investment, in terms of, like, if you have an automated quoting system, and that you can adjust the values yourself. So we'll send the Excel worksheet for you. You can enter the numbers which are very specific to your business and see, like, if it makes sense for you. And, like, again, like, I would highly recommend you to get in touch with us if you have any questions or concerns. You can reach out to us at hello@innovana3d.com. Uh, you can also visit our website www.innovana3d.com. Highly recommend you to follow us on LinkedIn. It's like, on LinkedIn, if you just search Innovana3D, you will find us, or like this is the URL, showcase/Innovana3D. And like, you can also, on the website, you can just click on, like, the experience, on a 3D button. You don't have to create any account or login, and you can just try out yourself how, on a 3D works. Once again, like, with that, we are at the end of the webinar. I thank you very much for tuning in. I hope we were able to provide you some values and some actionable tips. And like, stay tuned for the second part of this webinar. We'll send a follow-up email, maybe with the link for quick sign-up form and the Excel sheet, and maybe maybe when we are scheduling the next webinar. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day or have a good night based on your time zone. Bye bye.